Tonight,
you're not going to buy this election.
Upping the ante.
He's definitely trying to buy the race.
The Democratic candidates get ready to gamble it out in Vegas.
This as the president rallies his base.
It seems to be effective.
And puts a target on first-time debater Michael Bloomberg.
And the coronavirus outbreak continues to strike, infecting its victims across the globe.
Plus,
will 10-year-old Americans be in Iraq 10 years from now? Yes, unless we get it right.
Fighting America's forever wars and how to bring them to an end.
All this and more tonight on Faith Nation.
Showdown in the Silver State. Welcome to Faith Nation. I'm John Jessup.
And I'm Jenna Browder. 2020 Democrats just a few hours away now from the Las Vegas debate. Frontrunner Bernie Sanders will be center stage, and the center of attention, Michael Bloomberg.
His opponents seem to be training their attention on the former New York City mayor for his first debate. Abigail Robertson has tonight's top story, including the candidates' latest strategies. Abigail, welcome.
Well, thank you. Well, John, former frontrunner Joe Biden continues to drop in national and state polls after disappointing finishes in Iowa and New Hampshire. Now, Biden's turning to his faith in hopes of getting a much-needed boost.
Faith is what has gotten me through difficult times in my life.
In this latest ad, Biden cites faith as his source of hope for the future.
For me, my religion is just an enormous sense of solace.
And he's not the only candidate discussing God this week.
Do you think it is impossible to be a Christian and support President Trump?
Well, I'm not going to tell other Christians how to be Christians, but I will say I cannot find any compatibility between the way this president conducts himself and anything that I find in Scripture. Now, I guess that's my interpretation, but I think that's a lot of people's interpretation.
But evangelicals in the administration, like Secretary Ben Carson, disagree.
When you look at people who have been friendly to the cause of faith-based organizations, there's really not been a president like this before.
Telling CBN News he stands with Trump because he delivers on pro-life policies and defending religious freedom.
They don't pick him because they're a choir boy. You know, if that were the case, I would be president. You know, you need somebody who is going to really push the envelope and be very bold and courageous and be willing to fight.
Tonight, candidates will try to prove their willingness to fight, too.
To all of those billionaires who think they can buy elections, we are a democracy, not an oligarchy. You're not going to buy this election.
And are anxious to take their first swings at billionaire Mike Bloomberg, a newcomer to the debate stage.
This is about our values, what kind of a nation we want to be.
With Senator Elizabeth Warren describing the debate in a tweet as a live demonstration of how we each take on an egomaniac billionaire. The latest polls in Nevada have Senator Bernie Sanders in a solid lead, but tonight's debate could be a determining factor in the tight race for second, where Buttigieg, Biden, and Warren remain neck and neck.
All right, thank you, Abby.
Well, President Trump is also on the West Coast tonight, campaigning for his re-election.
His rally in Phoenix happening at the same time as the Democratic debate. CBN White House correspondent Ben Kennedy joins us now. Ben, this looks like it's beginning to be a trend for the president.
Yeah, John, Jenna, this is not the first time President Trump counter-campaigned. We saw it in Iowa and in New Hampshire. Trump's telling voters that Democrats have embraced socialist policies, then took aim at billionaire Michael Bloomberg, who, as Abigail was talking about, is gearing up for his first face-off in a Democratic debate. Trump tweeted calling Bloomberg a pathetic debater who doesn't respect our great farmers, adding he's violated campaign finance laws at the highest and most sinister level. The Trump campaign even took out a full-page newspaper ad ahead of tonight's debate. They slammed Democrats for big government socialism in the Las Vegas Review-Journal, adding they will kill Nevada jobs. The advertisement then touts the strong economy for a reason to vote red come November. Trump's campaign national press secretary released a statement in part saying Nevada voters should know that it doesn't matter which Democrat becomes their party's nominee because the big government socialist agenda will be front and center no matter who it is. During the debate, Trump will be in Phoenix, Arizona to deliver a remark at a Keep America Great rally. Then it's back to Las Vegas for the night. John, Jenna?
And Ben, here in the Beltway, we all have been hearing the reports of a possible shakeup at the Department of Justice and Attorney General William Barr considering stepping down. What have you heard about that?
Yeah, John, the DOJ, that is, were very quick to squash those rumors, saying it is just flat out not true, adding the Attorney General has no plans to resign. It comes after President Trump defied Barr's request to stop tweeting about the ongoing Justice Department cases. In fact, before boarding Air Force One to the West Coast, Trump admitted that he does make Barr's job harder, but has no plans to stop using social media, because he says that he needs to let the American people know exactly what he thinks.
He does care. He appreciates the service and respects his opinion, and they have a good working relationship. As you saw, the Department of Justice issued a statement that the Attorney General is not going anywhere, and so they'll continue to work together. And look, the president does. The president and the Attorney General actually do agree that there have been some grave injustices throughout the federal government.
Now, President Trump pushed back from here at the White House that he intervened in the most recent DOJ case about Roger Stone, saying there is a difference between public commentary and explicit orders, adding that despite his back and forth with his Attorney General on this issue, Trump said he has full confidence in Barr, and he, again, as you guys heard, will remain as Attorney General. John, Jenna?
All right, Ben Kennedy at the White House. Thank you.
Well, here now, CBN Chief Political Analyst David Brody for tonight's Faith Nation political panel. David, about that event in Phoenix tonight with President Trump. Yeah. I wasn't here yesterday, but I was watching. I heard you use the phrase troller-in-chief.
So you're watching?
I was watching. Is he taking trolling to a whole new level?
Oh, yeah, he is, for sure. But it's interesting. He leaves Nevada and goes over to Arizona because Arizona is a key swing state. You know, Nevada to a degree, but he needs Arizona, and that's why he's there tonight. And we're going to hear a lot of immigration talk, you can be sure. So he wants to generate some headlines and ruin the Democrats' parade, for sure. And it's going to be quite a parade tonight.
Well, yeah, tonight we're all watching Michael Bloomberg. This is his first debate. What are you expecting? You know, this, David, really is the first time that the playing field will be level among all of the candidates, all there on stage, all having to answer tough questions and field attacks from their opponents.
Yeah, it's going to be 1 on 5 if I do the math right, or whatever it is. How many are there on stage tonight? But yeah, they're all going to be against Bloomberg, and this is going to be really interesting. But I think what's interesting here is the other candidates, Biden, Buttigieg, Klobuchar, and Warren, have a decision to make. Are they going to go again? Are they going to try to ding Bloomberg? And they're going to let Bernie skate free because he's the front runner right now. So they have to figure this out. But look, the truth of the matter is this. They need to stop Bloomberg before they can get to Bernie. You can't get to Bernie before you stop Bloomberg because Bloomberg is on a roll now with all these millions of dollars in ads that he's putting across the country.
But that doesn't necessarily mean that they can give Bernie Sanders, who is, as you just mentioned, surging in the polls, a free pass.
Right. No, they can't give him a free pass. So they have to kind of thread the needle here and kind of basically go after both. But I think what's going to be interesting on the debate stage here is how much Bernie specifically is going to get dinged by these other folks tonight. Because I think, to me, that's going to be very, very important, because here's the truth. Can we just get down to the brass tacks here? Okay, here's the truth. Bernie's going to become the nominee unless some of these moderates, I say moderates, now they convince me they're moderates. They're not moderates. They're on the left. Sorry, they're on the left. But they're moderates compared to Bernie because, you know, Bernie makes everybody look like a moderate. Here's the point. They all need to figure out how they're going to stop Bernie. If they all coalesce together and a lot of these folks get out of the race, then Bernie will have a problem, because it could just be Bernie versus Bloomberg and or Biden or whoever it is.
David, do you think any of these candidates will get out of the race for the betterment of maybe not themselves, but the party, if they really want to beat Donald Trump?
Not after Nevada, but after South Carolina. I think, remember we talked about that February 29th to March 4th. That's the time that Buttigieg, Klobuchar, Warren, whoever it is, probably those three, Biden as well, they're all going to have a decision to make. And here's the decision. Do you want Bernie Sanders to be the nominee of your party, or do you want to continue to run a race that you're eventually going to lose anyhow? So they're going to have to make a decision. boy, but it's coming quickly in the next couple of weeks.
You mentioned Biden twice in the last couple of minutes, but
yes, I'm sorry.
We're hardly talking about him anymore. Is there anything that he can do to save his campaign or resuscitate his campaign?
It's done. It's over. This is all window dressing at this point. So enjoy Biden on the stage. You know, he'll have a couple more debates, and that'll be it. He's just done. He's just done. And here's
so you don't think he'll be saved by South Carolina or Super Tuesday?
Not at all. Not at all. Look, if you're trying to run a faith commercial, as Abby was talking about, because now you have to do it because it's South Carolina, that's not a good sign. Here's the other problem. Michael Bloomberg is out with an ad today, and you know what the ad is? It's just Joe Biden talking how wonderful Mike Bloomberg is. So Joe Biden is in Mike Bloomberg's ad talking for 1 minute about how great Bloomberg is.
Yeah.
That's not good.
David, do you think there's some bad blood between Biden and Bloomberg? Because they're both kind of playing that I'm the most electable candidate.
I don't think there's bad blood. I mean, I think they respect each other for sure. I know Biden respects Bloomberg. As a matter of fact, just watch Bloomberg's ad. You can see see Biden respecting him for a whole minute. But they realize that someone has to be the alternative to Bernie, and that's going to be coming out on stage tonight.
All right, we will see. David Brody, thank you very much.
You bet.
Meanwhile, new cases of the coronavirus appear to be slowing. The numbers still staggering, though. China has announced more than 1,700 new cases and 136 new deaths, bringing the totals to 74,000 infections and 2,000 deaths. Among the latest to die, a 51-year-old doctor in Wuhan, China, who was leading the fight against the virus there. And in Japan, the quarantine on a cruise ship is ending. More than 500 new cases of the virus were diagnosed on the ship, the largest number of infections in one place outside of China. Those who have not been diagnosed with the virus are being allowed to leave, but face quarantines in their home countries.
Well, the swarm of locusts ravaging Africa is now heading into South Sudan, the East African nation already suffering from widespread hunger. Right now, more than 5.5 million people, nearly half of the population, already lack adequate food due to civil war, droughts, and flooding. In neighboring Kenya, the government is enlisting young people to fight the plague, training 600 cadets how to identify and eradicate the locusts with pesticides. The United Nations and local authorities are also asking for more aircraft to spray the bugs. The swarm could increase up to 500 times by June, putting tens of millions of people at risk of food shortages.
Fighting forever wars. Coming up, why some say the U.S. is stuck in them, no matter who's in the Oval Office.
Having sex before you marry is a bad idea.
Don't tell me there's no such thing as gun violence.
That just depends on your definition of when life begins.
Watch Dan and Dale tackle trending topics that test your faith on the next Faithwire, Monday night at 9:30. The Global Lane takes you around the world, providing facts over fiction.
What might rising trade and geopolitical tensions mean for you on the home front?
With over 45 years of experience, award-winning journalist Gary Lane brings you the truth from a global angle.
What about the issue of immigration?
World news analysis you won't see anywhere else.
And it's all right here on the Global Lane.
Watch The Global Lane, Thursday night at 9:30.
Welcome back. Tonight, new insight into what might keep the United States and the Middle East fighting what some call forever wars.
An intelligence expert telling CBN News it has less to do with who's in power and more with who's talking in their ear. CBN National Security Correspondent Eric Phillips joins us with more. Eric?
Jenna and John, well, the latest development is a tentative peace deal between the U.S. and Afghanistan that the Taliban says could be signed by the end of the month. While one Middle East expert says this effort is weak, he admits it's past time for U.S. troops to go.
Will 10-year-old Americans be in Iraq 10 years from now? Yes, unless we get it right.
Middle East intelligence expert Michael Pregent says it's the same story in Afghanistan, where the U.S. has been fighting for 19 years across 3 presidential administrations. And Pregent tells us the main problem isn't necessarily in the Oval Office.
It's not the decision makers that are keeping us in these forever wars. It's the experts that are advising them.
And those advisors tend to stay around, outliving terms of elected officials. Pregent saw this during a Pentagon briefing the day after the U.S. killed Iranian General Qasem Soleimani.
There were several people that should not have been in that room that were there as experts that were actually advocating for their own business interests. They're advocating for their own portfolios. They're advocating for their contracts. And I've started a group called Veterans Against Forever Wars, where we're going to start vetting these experts that are briefing U.S. government to see whether or not they have business interests in these countries.
Pregent also offered insight into President Trump's communication strategy, especially on Twitter. For example, after Iran threatened revenge for Soleimani's death, a presidential tweet threatened Iranian cultural sites. That drew massive criticism because such an attack would violate international law. Pregent says the tweet carried a deeper purpose.
Because they moved their nuclear program into what they consider protected areas, which are cultural sites. So that was a message to Tehran, not a message to D.C. or our European allies. That first message the president sends is for the Iranian audience, the regime.
Pregent says the president will typically follow up with a message intended more for the people, as he did in this tweet. To the leaders of Iran, do not kill your protesters. Stop the killing of your great Iranian people. And it's all an effort on the president's part to try and garner support from civilians at home and abroad as the so-called forever wars rage on. John and Jenna.
Thank you, Eric. When we come back, how technology is normalizing surveillance as our private lives increasingly go digital. Stay with us. You're watching Faith Nation on the CBN News Channel.
On the home front.
Thanks for joining us for CBN's On the Home Front, where we highlight what the men and women of America's military do to defend our country. CBN honors the men and women in our military with an initiative called Helping the Home Front. It partners with churches across the country to meet the needs of their military families, from repairing homes to wiping out medical bills for wounded veterans.
On the Home Front, Tuesday morning at 10:30.
If you want to be an attorney with a passion for serving people and for excellence, Regent University needs to be high on your list.
Regent's award-winning law school doesn't just create lawyers. We create leaders, judges, prosecutors and defense lawyers, civil litigators, and leaders in government.
My focus has been trying to really make sure we have the future leaders we need for the bench and the bar and for society generally.
You'll learn from highly credentialed leaders who are current and former judges, distinguished scholars, and ACLJ counsel.
I'm so glad I chose Regent. The relationships here have been amazing. The faculty have been amazing. Not everybody's called to the same thing when they leave law school, but they're called by a God who has a purpose for their lives, and He is going to use that education to make a difference in the world.
Regent will prepare you to be a purpose-driven, practice-ready lawyer. To start your rewarding law career, complete the online application, submit your transcripts, and take the law school admissions test by July. Apply today.
Welcome back. Tonight, new technology is normalizing the way people spy on each other.
That's right. And as more and more of the details of our private lives end up in texts, on social media, and in photos, it's also leading to more and more people snooping on cell phones. In a new survey by Whistle Out, a company that studies cell phones, half of the 1,600 Americans participating admitted to snooping on a partner's phone. And that included checking texts, social media, and photos. And in a smaller study by the Washington Post, owners of surveillance cameras like Ring and Nest said they monitored neighbors, housekeepers, and babysitters without telling them.
Very interesting. Well, joining us now from California, Sherry Riggs, social media manager at Whistle Out. Sherry, thanks so much for your time today.
Yeah, of course. Thanks for having me. I'm excited to talk about this study with you.
So Sherry, why are people spying on each other?
Well, there are a few reasons, but our study found that people are mainly snooping on their partner's phones due to suspicion. So those suspicions could be cheating, talking to an ex, browser history, or maybe even inappropriate photos, anything along those lines. But 31% of people in our study say it's okay to snoop if you're suspicious of your partner.
With more and more of our private lives becoming digitized, how much is technology normalizing the way people keep tabs on each other? Is this becoming more common?
Well, I wouldn't say it's necessarily normalizing it, but it is making it easier to maybe access your cell phones, or now we even have smartwatches and tablets, laptops, smart TVs that are all connected to our phones, to all of our information. So it's making it easier for loved ones or even strangers potentially to look up our information and see what we're doing online.
Sherry, you said that 31% of people think it's okay to snoop around. For those people who do think it's okay, are they the ones who are doing the snooping, or are they the ones who are getting snooped on?
They are the ones doing the snooping. Yeah, we found that of the people who say it's okay to snoop, 48% of women think it's okay, and about 31% of men think it's okay to snoop if you're suspicious of your partner.
So what happens in these relationships after people look or snoop on each other's phones? What's the fallout?
Yeah, so there's a few different things that can happen with this fallout. We actually found that 60% of people who snoop, nothing really happens to the relationship, but there is about 40% that end in breakups or arguments over snooping.
Are those marriages or just dating relationships? What kind of relationships are those breakups?
Yeah, so these breakups can be anything from marriages to short-term relationships. We asked people, anybody who has been in a relationship, and we didn't really specify marriage or dating for this question.
So, Sherry, your study, it dealt with phone snooping, but what about those who spy on their neighbors or people around them with, cameras that are installed at their homes and different things like that?
Right. Well, technology is kind of a double-edged sword. It can be great for us. It keeps us and our families safe and our property safe, but it can be used to potentially spy on other people or put back on ourselves. They can be hacked and stuff like that. So it's hard to say with technology which way it goes. It can be used for good or bad.
Sherry, we only have a few seconds left. What was the general takeaway of the study for you all?
The general takeaway is that you need to be really communicative with your partner when it comes to your cell phone, because you can avoid these fights, you can avoid these breakups if you have solid rules set with looking at each other's phones and stuff like that.
Yeah. Really good advice. Sherry Riggs with Whistle Out. Sherry, thanks for being with us today.
Thank you so much.
Still ahead on Faith Nation, vandals won't stop the nation from celebrating the 400th anniversary of the Pilgrims' arrival on Plymouth Rock.
If you want to be an attorney with a passion for serving people and for excellence, Regent University needs to be high on your list.
Regent's award-winning law school doesn't just create lawyers. We create leaders, judges, prosecutors and defense lawyers, civil litigators, and leaders in government. Ready to become a purpose-driven, practice-ready lawyer? To start your rewarding career, complete the online application, submit your transcripts, and take the law school admissions test by July.
Nutrition, exercise, essential oils, weight loss, and more. It's Healthy Living with Lori Johnson.
Talk about what's in this.
Join CBN health reporter Lori Johnson to get the latest information from today's top health experts.
This is fantastic.
Find out what you need to know to live a healthier life. Watch Healthy Living, Tuesday night at 9:30.
Woohoo! Hi, Superbook fans. Here's something else you'll love. It's the new Superbook Bible app. It's packed with games, activities, and Superbook episodes that you can watch for free. Oh, no! There's trivia, a fun daily devotional, and answers to your Bible questions. Plus, an easy-to-understand Bible the whole family will enjoy. You can even create your own Superbook character. Ta-da! Whoa!
No spur falls, man.
Sorry, pardon me. Sorry, excuse me. Ouch!
Are you getting this?
Earn super points to win daily prizes, too. And so much more! Time to get back to my adventures. See you soon. It's the new Superbook Bible app. Free downloads on iTunes, Google Play, and Amazon.
And finally tonight, Massachusetts is gearing up to celebrate the 1620 Mayflower landing.
And the 400th anniversary. This, though, as Plymouth Rock, which marks the Pilgrims' arrival in America, was found vandalized this week. The iconic Bay State Rock was among several historic landmarks covered in red graffiti. But that is not stopping the celebration. CBN senior Washington correspondent Paul Strand has the story.
Plymouth, Massachusetts and its Pilgrim reenactors are going all out this summer for the Pilgrims' 400th anniversary.
Historic tours, seminars, workshops, dramatic musical, and actually reenacting the landing in front of Plymouth Rock on Tuesday, June 30.
Paul Jaley of the Plymouth Rock Foundation will even preach an old Pilgrim sermon. He points out they were fervent disciples, dedicated to the God of liberty, who promised his truth would set them free.
Internal liberty, liberty of conscience, freedom from sin. That's why they said that God began to reform their lives by his grace. And this was the most important thing that the Pilgrims began with, because they were a remnant as part of the great revival known as the Reformation. So here they were at the peak of that revival, and they were very conscious of this.
While God gave them spiritual liberty on the inside, on the outside they were persecuted in England and granted no religious liberty. They saw potential for that liberty in the New World. After storms blew them to an isolated coastline, the Pilgrims had to come up with their own form of government and gave the future America civil liberty in the form of the Mayflower Compact.
Because it was the beginning of self-government here in America. Bottom-up liberty. When you read the Mayflower Compact, it says, "In the name of God, amen. We whose names are underwritten, the subjects of the king." So it's God to the people and then to the king.
Jaley says that order of authority, God over the people over the king, was the order presented for all of America in the Declaration of Independence. It was one gift of many from the Pilgrims.
Whether it's economic liberty, civil liberty, religious liberty, self-rule, thanksgiving, the idea of giving thanks to God even in the midst of suffering.
Jaley says fans are welcome at the end of June to come to Plymouth and celebrate the Pilgrims and what they gave America. Paul Strand, CBN News, Washington.
400 years in the making.
Yeah, it's quite a milestone.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry to see that the Plymouth Rock vandalized. That was a shame this week.
The show must go on.
The show goes on. The party goes on.
That's right.
Well, thank you so much for joining us tonight.
We'll see you back here tomorrow.